John had always prided himself on being a rock in his family, a protector whose unwavering sense of tradition and values had guided their household for years. He was the kind of father who believed that the best way to support his son, Jake, was to provide for him materially while imparting lessons from his own upbringing, lessons that had built character and resilience. Yet, as he sat in the dim light of the living room, scrolling through a seemingly innocuous social media feed, he found himself questioning how well he truly understood the young man his son was becoming. Before we dive deeper into Jake's world and the unexpected revelations awaiting John, let me ask you to support our journey together. Please subscribe to the channel. Your subscription means everything to us, and it's the only way to ensure these stories reach a wider audience. It helps us continue our work and share these important narratives. So please, take a moment to subscribe now. As the evening wore on, John's phone buzzed with a notification from a friend. Curious, he clicked on the link, and a short video loaded. The moment the screen illuminated with vibrant colors and lively music, John leaned in closer. At first, he chuckled at the antics of a young man dancing and lip-syncing to a popular song, the clever editing framing the scene perfectly. But then, as the camera panned, John felt his heart drop. There, in the midst of the laughter and energy, was Jake. His son, a bright spark of life, was smiling and carefree. But beneath that exterior, John sensed an undercurrent of something deeper. In the days that followed, John's mind replayed the video over and over, a nagging curiosity pulling him back to Jake's account. With each visit, he uncovered more of Jake's world, a collection of clips that portrayed emotion, vulnerability, and the weight of unspoken burdens. Jake's videos explored themes of mental health, the struggles of adolescence, and the pain of losing a friend, topics that echoed loudly in the hearts of his followers. As John watched, he felt an unsettling mix of pride and sorrow. Pride for Jake's courage to share so openly, and sorrow for his own ignorance of his son's internal battles. The truth began to settle uncomfortably in John's mind. He had been so focused on providing for his family and upholding the values he had been taught, he had overlooked the signs that Jake was struggling. The late-night conversations that no longer happened, the slight changes in Jake's demeanor, and the way he would often retreat to his room after school. All these moments now painted a picture he had been too blind to see. The realization hit hard. His son was using a platform meant for entertainment to voice the very real and painful emotions he felt, emotions that John had never taken the time to understand. John felt a surge of determination rise within him. He knew he needed to confront this new reality head-on. It was time to reach out to Jake, to bridge the gap that had unknowingly formed between them. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the conversation that lay ahead. He couldn't afford to let pride or fear stand in the way of understanding his son. The following evening, he found Jake sitting at the kitchen table, headphones on, completely engrossed in his phone. John paused, taking a moment to observe. Jake's fingers moved rapidly across the screen, a look of concentration etched on his face. It was a scene he had often witnessed, yet it now felt different. In that moment, the distance between them felt palpable, almost like an unseen wall. John cleared his throat, and Jake looked up, pulling the headphones from his ears. "Hey, Dad," Jake said, a hint of surprise in his voice. "Can we talk for a minute?" John asked, his heart pounding. Jake nodded slowly, his expression shifting to one of curiosity mixed with concern. John gestured for him to join him in the living room, where the evening light cast a warm glow across the space. As they settled onto the couch, John looked at Jake, searching for the right words. "I saw something online today," he began, his voice steady but laced with emotion. "A video you made. I had no idea you were doing this, all of this. I had no idea you were feeling this way." Jake's gaze dropped to the floor, a flush creeping up his cheeks. "Yeah, I guess it's just something I started to cope, you know?" He replied softly. "I'm sorry, Jake. I should have asked. I should have noticed that you were hurting," John said, the weight of his words heavy in the air between them. Jake glanced up, his eyes reflecting a mix of vulnerability and strength. "You were busy, Dad. I get it. You've always worked hard for us." "I know," John admitted, his voice thick with regret. "But I want to understand. I want to be there for you. I want to know what you're going through." The room fell into a silence that was both awkward and necessary. Jake looked thoughtful, as if weighing his father's words carefully. John felt a surge of hope mixed with fear. He was treading on new ground, and he didn't know where it would lead. "Sometimes it's hard to talk about stuff," Jake said slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't want to worry you. I thought it was easier to just share it online." John nodded, absorbing the weight of Jake's admission. "I can't promise to always understand, but I want to try. I want to be the dad you need. Can we start over? Can we talk about what you share on your TikTok?" Jake's eyes softened, and for the first time, John saw a flicker of hope. "Yeah, I'd like that," Jake replied, a small smile breaking through the tension. In that moment, a bridge began to form, a connection built on honesty and the promise of understanding. John felt the walls that had stood between them begin to crumble, revealing the potential for a deeper relationship than he had ever imagined. As they began to talk, John realized that this was more than just a conversation about Jake's TikTok account. It was a doorway into his son's world, a world filled with emotions, challenges, and the resilience that Jake had shown in navigating his struggles. The dynamic between them was shifting, and John was determined to nurture that change. The evening unfolded with laughter, tears, and revelations, each moment weaving a stronger bond between father and son. John found himself marveling at Jake's insights, the depth of thought that belied his age. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to be present in his son's life in ways he had previously neglected. Together, they began to explore the complexities of youth, mental health, and the unexpected ways technology could serve as a conduit for connection rather than a barrier. As the night wore on, John realized that he was no longer just a provider. He was becoming an ally in Jake's journey. And in that realization, he felt a profound shift within himself, an awakening to the importance of empathy and understanding in parenting. The seeds of trust were being sown, and together, they would cultivate a relationship built on openness, resilience, and the shared journey of healing. John felt the warmth of hope fill the room as they continued to talk, delving into the intricacies of Jake's life and the emotions he had previously kept hidden. Each word exchanged felt like a gift, a step toward a newfound connection that had the potential to heal the wounds of misunderstanding. As Jake opened up about his TikTok videos, the themes of mental health and loss became a shared narrative that both father and son could explore together. "I started making videos because I felt like no one really understood what I was going through," Jake confessed, his voice steady yet tinged with vulnerability. "After Jason died, everything just felt heavy. I didn't know how to talk about it, so I thought maybe if I shared my feelings online, it would help me process them. And surprisingly, it did. People started responding, sharing their own stories, and it made me feel less alone." John listened intently, his heart aching for the pain his son had endured. He had known about Jason's passing, of course, but the depth of Jake's grief was something he had never fully grasped. "I had no idea you felt this way," he said softly, his eyes locked onto Jake's. "I thought you were just going through the motions, but it sounds like you were carrying this weight all by yourself." "Yeah, I guess I thought I could handle it," Jake replied, a hint of shame creeping into his voice. "But it's hard to be strong all the time. Sometimes it just feels like too much." John reached out, placing a comforting hand on Jake's shoulder. "It's okay to feel that way. You don't have to be strong all the time. I want you to know that you can come to me about anything. No judgment, just support." Jake looked up, searching his father's gaze for sincerity. "Really? You mean it?" "Absolutely," John affirmed, a sense of pride swelling in his chest at the courage Jake was showing. "I may not have all the answers, but I want to be a safe space for you. We're in this together." As they continued to talk, John found himself reflecting on the generational divide that had unknowingly shaped their relationship. He had grown up in a time when emotions were often brushed aside, considered a sign of weakness. Yet here was Jake, utilizing the very platform that had once seemed frivolous to John to express his deepest struggles and connect with others who felt similarly lost. "Dad, do you think it's weird that I share all of this online?" Jake asked, a slight frown creasing his brow. "Like, isn't it kind of embarrassing?" John shook his head firmly. Not at all. What you're doing is brave. You're not just sharing your story. You're helping others who might feel the same way. That's powerful. You're turning your pain into something meaningful. Jake smiled, a glimmer of pride sparking in his eyes. I never thought about it that way. I just wanted it to help someone else, you know? Exactly, John replied, feeling a swell of admiration for the young man before him. I've always believed in the importance of honesty and integrity. You're embodying those values in a way I couldn't have imagined. The conversation flowed naturally, moving from Jake's experiences on TikTok to discussions about his interests, aspirations, and the things that brought him joy. John found himself learning more about his son in those few hours than he had in years. They laughed together, shared stories, and even debated some of the more ludicrous TikTok trends that had captured Jake's attention. Eventually, the topic of mental health resurfaced, prompting John to address something he had been pondering throughout their conversation. Jake, about mental health, it's a serious topic. I want you to know that if you ever feel overwhelmed, there are professionals who can help. It's okay to ask for help. Jake nodded, his expression thoughtful. I know, Dad. I've thought about it. I just didn't want to add to your worries. John felt a pang of guilt at Jake's words. You're not a burden to me. I want to be there for you in every way possible. And if you think talking to someone could help, I'd support you 100%. We can look for someone together. The offer hung between them, rich with possibility, and Jake's face brightened. That would be cool. I wouldn't mind talking to someone. It would be nice to have a professional perspective. Then let's make it happen, John said, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. The barriers they had faced were beginning to dissolve, revealing a pathway forward filled with hope and understanding. As the evening drew to a close, John realized how much he had missed the simple act of connecting with his son. The weight of his own expectations and fears had clouded his ability to truly see Jake for who he was becoming. Now, as they stood at the precipice of a new chapter in their relationship, John felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Jake, he said, his voice thick with emotion as they prepared to part ways for the night. I'm proud of you. You're doing incredible things, and I want you to know I'm here for you always. Jake met his father's gaze, and for a moment, they were bound by a shared understanding that transcended words. Thanks, Dad. That means a lot to me, he replied, his voice warm and sincere. As Jake retreated to his room, John remained in the living room, reflecting on the evening's revelations. He felt lighter, as if a burden had been lifted from his shoulders. The journey ahead would not be easy, but it was one he now felt ready to embark on alongside his son. In the days that followed, John made a conscious effort to engage with Jake's world. He began to watch the videos Jake created, not just as a father, but as a supportive ally. He marveled at the way his son articulated his feelings, the way he connected with his audience. It became clear that Jake was not just a TikTok influencer. He was a beacon of light for those who felt lost in their own darkness. If this story is touching your heart, make sure to comment from where you are hearing this amazing story. John encouraged Jake to share more of his journey, and together they brainstormed ideas for future videos. Each conversation deepened their bond, transforming John's understanding of what it meant to be a father in an ever-evolving world. As spring approached, the warmth of the sun began to break through the winter chill, mirroring the thawing of their relationship. John found himself looking forward to their late-night talks, where they would delve into everything from TikTok trends to mental health discussions. It was in these moments that he realized the power of vulnerability and how it could forge connections that transcended generations. One afternoon, while they were working on a new video idea, Jake turned to John with a thoughtful expression. You know, Dad, I've been thinking maybe we could do a video together. Something about our relationship and how it's changed. John's heart swelled at the thought. I'd love that, Jake. It could be a great way to show others that it's okay to talk about their feelings and to reach out for support. The idea resonated with both of them, and they began to sketch out a plan for their collaborative video. Each step of the process felt exhilarating, a testament to the progress they had made. As they recorded the video, John felt a sense of pride wash over him, not just for Jake's creativity, but for the journey they had embarked on together. It was a moment of triumph, one that signaled a new era of understanding and trust between father and son. The video they created was raw and honest, showcasing their unique perspectives while highlighting the importance of open communication. When they shared it on Jake's TikTok account, the response was overwhelming. Comments flooded in from viewers who resonated with their story, cheering them on for their bravery and authenticity. Through the lens of social media, John saw the profound impact their story had on others, and he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the connection they had built. The emotional peaks they had navigated were now shared with a community that celebrated vulnerability and resilience. As the weeks turned into months, John and Jake continued to nurture their relationship. They attended workshops on mental health together, deepening their understanding of the challenges young people face today. Every step they took brought them closer together, reinforcing the bond that had been forged in honesty and love. John knew they had a long way to go in understanding each other fully, but he felt a renewed sense of hope. He had learned that being a father was not just about providing, but about being present, listening, and being willing to learn from his son. And for Jake, he had found in his father not just a protector, but a partner in navigating the complexities of life. As they stood together, looking out at the horizon of their journey, John felt an unwavering commitment to continue building this bridge of trust and understanding. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, armed with the knowledge that love and connection could triumph over misunderstanding and fear. It was a powerful lesson that transcended generations, one that would shape their relationship for years to come. As they stood together, looking out at the horizon of their journey, John felt an unwavering commitment to continue building this bridge of trust and understanding. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, armed with the knowledge that love and connection could triumph over misunderstanding and fear. It was a powerful lesson that transcended generations, one that would shape their relationship for years to come. One sunny Saturday afternoon, John and Jake decided to take a break from their usual routine and head to the local park. The vibrant colors of blooming flowers and the laughter of children playing echoed around them, creating an atmosphere of joy that felt contagious. As they strolled along the walking path, John felt a sense of ease, a far cry from the tension that had once existed between them. "Do you remember the last time we came here?" Jake asked, a hint of nostalgia in his voice. John chuckled, recalling a day from years ago when they had played catch until sunset. "Ido, you were so determined to impress me with your pitching skills. You kept insisting you'd make the varsity team one day." Jake smiled, a spark of youthful enthusiasm lighting up his face. "I was such a dork back then, but I really believed I could do it. And you were right to believe in yourself," John replied, feeling a swell of pride. "It's that same belief that has carried you through so much. I've seen it in your videos and the way you've opened up to me." They found a bench under a sprawling oak tree and sat down, the leaves rustling gently in the breeze. Jake leaned back, looking up at the branches swaying above them. "You know, Dad, I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened. It's amazing how much has changed in just a few months." "Yeah, it really is," John agreed, feeling a warmth spread through him at the thought of their new dynamic. "I think we're both learning how to be more open with each other. I've realized that it's important to talk about things, not just keep them bottled up." Jake turned to face his father, his expression earnest. "And I've learned that it's okay to show my feelings, even if they're messy. I used to think that being vulnerable was a weakness, but now I see it as strength. Sharing my story has helped me heal." John nodded, proud of the growth they had both experienced. "It takes courage to be vulnerable, Jake. You've shown me that. I want to keep learning from you, just as you're learning from me." "I'd like that," Jake replied, a genuine smile breaking across his face. "I want us to keep this connection going. It feels good to have you on my side." As they sat in comfortable silence, John couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was a turning point. The bond they had formed felt unshakable, fortified by the challenges they had faced and the honesty they had embraced. It was a relationship built not just on love, but on mutual respect and understanding. Later that day, as they walked back home, John noticed a group of teenagers gathered around a picnic table, engaged in conversation. One of them was filming a TikTok video, the laughter and energy infectious. Jake paused, watching intently. "Look at them," he said, his eyes sparkling with inspiration. "They're just having fun. It reminds me of how I started." John watched as Jake's gaze shifted from the group to the ground, a contemplative look crossing his face. "Sometimes, I wonder if I'm doing enough to help others with what I share. It can feel overwhelming at times. Just remember, every little bit counts," John reassured him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You're already making a difference. Don't underestimate the power of your voice. It's something I've come to appreciate so much more." Jake met his father's gaze, the warmth of their connection radiating between them. "Thanks, Dad. That means a lot. I want to keep using my platform for good and to help others feel less alone." With a renewed sense of purpose, Jake began brainstorming new content ideas for his TikTok account. John encouraged him to explore themes that resonated with his audience, emphasizing the importance of authenticity and vulnerability. As the weeks turned into summer, John watched Jake flourish, both on and off the screen. He navigated new friendships, took on leadership roles in school, and continued to create content that inspired others. John often found himself reflecting on the lessons learned through their conversations, recognizing that being a father meant not only guiding, but also learning from his son. One afternoon, while they were filming a new video together, Jake paused and turned to John, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "Hey, Dad, do you think we could do a series on mental health? Like breaking the stigma and sharing tips on how to cope?" John's heart swelled with pride. "That's a brilliant idea, Jake. It's so important to talk about mental health openly. I'd love to help you with that." As they planned the series, they discussed various topics, from self-care strategies to how to support friends dealing with grief. Each conversation deepened their bond, reinforcing the idea that they were not just father and son, but collaborators working towards a common goal. The day came to release the first video in the series. They sat together, Jake nervously fiddling with his phone as they prepared to go live. John could see the excitement and apprehension in his son's eyes, and he placed a reassuring hand on his back. "You've got this, Jake. Just be yourself." As the camera started rolling, Jake's confidence began to shine through. He spoke passionately about the importance of mental health, sharing his own experiences and tips for coping with anxiety and loss. John felt a rush of pride as he watched his son connect with viewers, the comments flooding in with support and gratitude. After the live session, Jake turned to John, his face beaming with joy. "That was amazing. I can't believe how many people engaged. It feels good to share and know it's helping others." "It was incredible, Jake," John said, feeling a sense of fulfillment wash over him. "You're making a real impact. I'm so proud of you for taking this initiative." As they celebrated the success of their first video, John realized that this journey had changed them both in ways he had never anticipated. Their relationship had transformed into one built on trust, understanding, and shared experiences. They were navigating the complexities of life together, learning from each other along the way. One evening, as they sat in the living room reviewing the feedback from their latest video, John turned to Jake, a serious expression crossing his face. "I want to talk about something important." Jake looked up, sensing the shift in tone. "What's up?" "I've been thinking about how far we've come and how much I've learned from you. I realize now that being a parent doesn't mean having all the answers. Sometimes it's about being willing to learn and grow alongside your child." Jake nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Yeah, I get that. I never thought I'd be teaching you things, but it's kind of cool." "Absolutely," John replied with a chuckle. "I want you to know that I'm always here for you, no matter what. Life will throw challenges your way, and I want to be the kind of dad who helps you navigate them." A smile spread across Jake's face, and in that moment, John saw the depth of their connection reflected in his son's eyes. "Thanks, Dad. That means more than you know." As they continued to create content together and explore new topics, their bond only grew stronger. They became advocates for mental health awareness, participating in community events and collaborating with organizations that supported youth mental health initiatives. John found himself not only proud of Jake, but also inspired by his son's dedication to making a difference in the world. Through their journey, John learned that sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give is the willingness to listen, learn, and embrace the evolving nature of their relationship. The generational divide that had once loomed large between them began to fade, replaced by a partnership rooted in love, empathy, and shared experiences. As they stood together, looking out at the world around them, John felt a sense of hope for the future. He knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, hand in hand, ready to support each other every step of the way. The journey had changed them both, and in that change, they had found something beautiful, a deeper understanding of what it truly meant to be family.